Bank runs are coming to your doorstep. Your hard-earned savings will be stolen by the banks in an effort to recapitalize them as they begin to go bankrupt. In fact, they are already bankrupt, but perhaps it isn't politically sound at this time to admit it. So, the bail-in or bank run schemes will have to wait for the time being. Historically, we've seen bank runs take place countless times all around the world for many different reasons. The only permanent truth is that your money is not safe in the bank. The banks are run by the same individuals who purposely created a dangerous system in the financial crisis, and that crisis is far from over. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we will get into the bank runs. I'm going to show you examples throughout history, modern history, and you could research this as far as it goes back. One thing that's true is that there is fragility in the financial system. Where there is risk, there is fragility. Let's begin with this right here. This is new. Chase ATMs to limit withdrawals for non-customers to $1,000 a day. Banks are paying more attention to large cash transfers that could be a sign of criminal activity. So right here they're saying, look, this is all for terrorism. We're going to stop it. We're going to use these methods to curb the amount of money laundering and this and that. But then it goes into this. JP Morgan Chase capped ATM withdrawals at $1,000 per card daily for non-customers, cracking down on people started to pull out tens of thousands of dollars at a time when the bank was modifying its machines to dispense $100 bills with no limit. So as soon as you allow people to take money out, they started taking it out. Did that have anything to do with criminals or terrorism or anything? No, absolutely not. It's just a show they put on for us. They're trying to basically use an excuse. That's all. And this is interesting here. This is from last year out of The Guardian. This individual, a retired civil servant, accusing Barclays of effectively denying customers access to their money after he walked into his local branch, tries to take out a small sum of cash in order to pay a bill. He produces debit card, photo ID, but even though he had significantly more in the bank here, £12,000, he wasn't able to take out what he wanted, $1,500, and he was allowed to have $1,100 instead. And this is the kind of thing that's absolutely ridiculous. It's his own money. It's your money in the banking system. But in this case right here, Barclays is putting in their withdrawal limits. That's right. You're only allowed to withdraw so much of your own money. What is that limit? Well, of course, this is a local decision according to Barclays, and that there's no way to determine what those limits are. So that's not the way this works. They just don't want you to take out your money. I know I've heard it before from the subscribers, but would be interested in hearing your experiences with trying to take out large sums of money. I know that in my case, I've got the 20 questions. What are you doing with it? Oh, well, what's going on with that money? What are you going to use it for? Any plans with that money? And they just go on and on. And you feel like, this individual is trying to be nice to you in a way, but at the same time, they're getting involved in your personal business. And that's what they're trying to do. They're simply complying with rules that are not laws at all. This is your money. And you could take it out. But of course, this is a business, and they basically own your money as soon as you put it in there. That's the danger. This is back from 2014. HSBC imposes restrictions on large cash withdrawals. This seems to be a reoccurring theme. And, if you want to read it for yourself, it's interesting just to see how, it's all the big banks essentially doing the same thing. And then we move in to the bank runs. Greek banks reopened their doors, but with strict limits still in place. That's right. This is exactly what's going to happen. Now, if you're thinking, well, Greece is a small economy, Greece's banks were weak, Greece isn't the UK. Well, let's go back not too far in history. The bank that failed. The queues that formed outside of Northern Rock, the country's 5th biggest mortgage lender, represented the first bank run in Britain since 1866. And it was prompted by the very announcement designed to prevent it. That's what I always say. As soon as they warn you that everything is just fine, you better be afraid. And this is the kind of thing that people think for a second that there's no way the money can be taken from them. But of course, that's the way it is. When the bank reopens, you may not have the same amount of money. Now, of course, there are people on here listening to this who will deny me, but let's continue on with the evidence. This happens to be the same thing. Northern Rock, the UK bank, was the most high-profile casualty of the credit crisis of 2007 when it suffered its depositor run. In spite of the television images of long lines of depositor outside its branch, the run on Northern Rock was unlike the retail depositor run caused by coordination failure. And they make a whole bunch of different excuses in here. And those are interesting, but all I would like to mention from this is the fact that it can happen for a multitude of reasons. It doesn't have to be that necessarily the bank is running out of money. There could be a million reasons for it. This is a bank out of Sweden. My Swedish subscribers here may want to translate this for me, but what you're looking at is another bank that suffered. People aren't exactly, there's no sort of geographic resemblance required. It could be anywhere in the world that this takes place. You have one from the Netherlands. This right here, let's look at this. This right here, as it says, accounts have been frozen and savers with over 100,000 euro in the bank will lose some of their money. That's right. They're going to lose some of their money. This is back from 2009. Now, what does that tell you? That it's not just Cyprus that had this. This is, different places around the world for different reasons. But there have been many cases throughout history where depositors have lost their money. They lose access to their money, or they actually lose a percentage of their money. So if you have over 100,000 euro, somehow it's politically okay to take a percentage of your money. A rush to pull out cash. This right here is Countrywide Bank. Crowded at its branch offices to pull out their savings because of concerns about the financial problems of the mortgage lender that owns the bank. Another issue right here. People will pull their money out. And sure, it could have your depositor insurance take care of this. It could be nothing that ever happens to you. But the fact that you get locked out of your money is the most frightening part. If you have your savings in the bank, you are risking everything. And then from my book, basically at the end of each chapter, I have this section called In a Nutshell. And right at the bottom, I say this: deposit insurance allows banks to continue taking risks without worrying about a bank run by customers. This is what they do. Unfortunately, throughout history, we've seen the cases where people simply get it. They become afraid and they go and they rush and they take their money out. This should not happen, but this is the way it is. They gamble with the money, they screw up, and then they take our money. They leave us out of the banks, and they restrict our cash withdrawals. They restrict our transfers from one account to another. They come up with all different schemes. The capital controls are being put in place in one way, shape, or form, and you don't want to be caught by this. This is why you cannot have your money in paper assets at this time. It is so dangerous. People believe that their stocks are safe, but you need to look at the fine print here and understand how this could all be turned up on its head. But people don't want to hear that. But this isn't a popularity contest. The Money GPS, it's not really a popularity contest. That's not what I'm doing here. I mean, I want to get the word out to as many people as possible, but I have to say what I believe is the truth. And I'm always going to speak that message of truth. I hope you do appreciate that. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. Last but not least, If you found the video informative, I know you'll find my book, The Money GPS, even more informative. You can look through the book. If you head over to Amazon, they have a look inside feature, which will allow you to flip through the pages of the book and see if you like it. Take care.